Welcome to the Deep Dive. We sort through stacks of sources, articles, research, our own notes to pull out the key insights, basically giving you a shortcut to being, well, truly well-informed. Today, we're plunging into something really foundational, I think. It's ancient philosophy, sure, but it feels incredibly relevant right now. It's about how our actions, the things we do every day, don't just affect us, they ripple outwards, impacting everyone, the whole community. We talk a lot about self-improvement, right? Optimizing ourselves. But what if our own well-being is actually deeply tied to how everyone else is doing?
That's the core question, isn't it? It shifts the focus quite dramatically.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission today is to really dive deep into a phrase you see again and again if you read Marcus Aurelius, the Roman Emperor, the common good.
Yes, he uses it constantly.
So what did that actually mean for him, for the Stoics? Why was it so central? And, what can understanding it really tell us about our own lives, our own place in the world today? That's what we want to figure out.
Absolutely. And for this deep dive, we've pulled together some really core texts. Obviously, Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, his private thoughts, essentially. But also the teachings of Epictetus, his discourses, and the handbook, plus Seneca's letters and essays, and even some practical advice from Musonius Rufus. And we're also looking at how modern scholars interpret these ideas, trying to bridge that gap between ancient Rome and, well, us now.
So a good mix of primary sources and modern takes.
Exactly. They all shed light on this idea of humans being fundamentally social, the need for cooperation, and this, sometimes surprising link between what's good for you and what's good for everyone. Let's see what we find.
Right. So Marcus Aurelius first, the philosopher emperor. His meditations are like this incredible personal journal. And you're right, this phrase, the common good, it just keeps popping up.
It really does. It's not just a casual mention. For Marcus, it seems to be a fundamental test, a filter for almost everything.
A filter? How so?
Well, he explicitly says that even our attention, what we choose to focus on in our own minds, should be considered in relation to some common good. He literally advises against spending time thinking about what other people are up to, their business, unless it somehow relates to the collective well-being.
Wow. Okay. So not just judging actions, but actually policing your own thoughts based on whether they serve the community. That's demanding.
It is. It's a really profound level of mental discipline he's advocating for. Imagine actually trying to apply that consistently. Before you mentally critique someone or gossip, you ask, is this thought serving the common good? It changes your internal landscape completely.
It really does. And did he take it further than just thoughts about others?
Oh, absolutely. He doubles down, saying you should only pay attention to what others say or do or plan, not often, nor without some great necessity tending to some public good.
Yeah.
So it's not just avoiding negative thoughts. It's about consciously directing your mental energy. Is this speculation, this worry about someone else's actions, actually useful for the community? If not, it's a distraction. It's wasting that, precious cognitive resource.
It makes sense. Conserve your focus for what actually matters, what contributes.
Precisely, for what's truly productive and, from their perspective, virtuous.
It's interesting because a lot of people, when they first come across Stoicism today, they're often looking for, peace of mind, tranquility.
Right, managing stress, negative emotions, that's often the entry point.
Yeah, William Irvine talks about this in A Guide to the Good Life, how tranquility is maybe more immediately appealing to modern ears than the ancient focus on virtue, which can sound a bit, abstract or stern.
It can.
But this focus on the common good suggests something much bigger than just personal calm, doesn't it? It feels more active, more outward-looking.
That's a really crucial point. And it's a common misunderstanding. Tranquility, or ataraxia as they called it, is definitely valued in Stoicism. But it's more of a result, a consequence of living rightly. It's not the primary goal itself. The sources are pretty clear, actually. They state that the primary mission of the Stoics is to be helpful to others and serve the greater good.
So you don't help others in order to feel peaceful?
Not primarily, no. You do it because, for them, it's simply the right and natural way to live. It aligns with our fundamental nature as rational social beings. The happiness, the inner peace that comes along with it, that's a wonderful side effect, a bonus, you could say.
Right. It flips the usual script. We often think, I'll do things to make myself happy, but this is more like, I'll do what's right, and happiness might follow.
Exactly, and that doing right is inextricably linked to others.
What's fascinating here is how this connects to the deeper idea of eudaimonia. That Greek concept, often translated as happiness, but it's much richer than that, isn't it? like human flourishing, living a truly good life.
Precisely. It's not just about feeling good moment to moment. It's about overall well-being, living virtuously. And scholars like Julia Annis really emphasize that for the Stoics, virtue isn't just helpful for eudaimonia, it's absolutely essential. It is the path.
So virtue isn't just one ingredient, it's basically the whole recipe for a flourishing life.
You could put it that way, yeah.
Yeah.
And this brings us back to the common good. How do you know if an action is virtuous? Well, the Stoic test is it accomplished in the service of the human community? That gives you a really concrete yardstick. A Stoic then directs its impulses only toward those actions which serve the human community.
So if an action is purely self-serving, with no benefit to others, it falls short.
From a strict Stoic standpoint, yes. It wouldn't align with living according to our social nature. The emphasis is overwhelmingly on ethical conduct, contributing to the collective as the measure of a good life, not just personal comfort or gain.
Okay, this idea that serving the human community is the benchmark for virtue. Where does that actually come from? Is it just a moral preference, or is there something deeper?
This is where it gets really interesting and quite profound. For the Stoics, this wasn't just a nice ethical guideline. It was baked into the very nature of reality, into our design as human beings, and even into the structure of the cosmos itself.
Baked into our design. So they thought we were built for this.
Absolutely. A core foundational belief was that all rational beings were formed for each other. Marcus Aurelius is very direct about this. He states unequivocally, we are made for society. It's not some cultural overlay or something we invented. It's inherent. Think about his examples. A fig tree makes figs, that's its nature. A bee works for the hive, that's its nature. Well, man likewise should do that, which by his nature, as he is a man, belongs unto him.
And our nature is to be social, cooperative.
Exactly. As rational beings, our function involves living and working together. To act purely selfishly or antisocially is to act against our own fundamental nature.
That really resonates with Aristotle calling humans political animals much earlier, doesn't it? This idea that we're inherently social has some serious history.
It certainly does. The Stoics took that fundamental idea and embedded it within their broader understanding of the universe, their cosmology.
Okay, so how does the cosmos fit into this?
Well, the Stoics saw the universe not as chaotic, but as governed by reason, by a divine rational principle. They often identified this principle with God or nature, not necessarily a personal God, but the animating rational principle organizing everything. So when someone like Seneca talks about the will of God, he's generally referring to this inherent rationality, this organizing principle that governs the universe, which they also link to fate or providence.
Universal reason guiding everything.
Right. And they believed that universal nature's impulse was to create an orderly world. It follows, then, that everything happening is part of a logical, rational sequence. Our lives, our social nature, it's all part of this grand, coherent, rational design. We're not just random bits, we're integral parts of a reasoned whole.
So our being social isn't an accident. It's actually a reflection of the universe's own rational structure.
It's a big idea. It is. And it connects directly to what Epictetus meant when he talked about us carrying God around inside us.
The Dhamma, the divine spark within.
Exactly. That spark of reason within each of us is our connection to the universal reason, the God that animates nature. It's what makes us rational beings. And because all rational beings share in this spark, it creates what they called a community of reason. It links us all together. Seneca drives this home, calling nature the common parent of all.
So we're related not just by biology, but by sharing in this universal reason.
Precisely. We share a relation of blood and kindred with everything in the cosmos, especially other rational beings. This isn't just poetry. For them, it created a powerful moral obligation towards each other. Our kinship is universal.
Wow. Okay, if that's the foundation, this deep interconnectedness, this shared reason, this design for cooperation, then acting against it must be pretty serious in their view.
Extremely serious. This leads to one of Marcus Aurelius's most striking statements. He says, flat out, he that is unjust is also impious.
Impious, not just wrong or harmful, but impious. Like against God, against the divine.
Exactly that. He explains why. For the nature of the universe, having made all reasonable creatures one for another, to the end that they should do one another good, but in no wise hurt one another, it is manifest that he that doth transgress against this her will is guilty of impiety towards the most ancient and venerable of all the deities.
So committing an injustice isn't just breaking a human rule, it's violating the fundamental will of nature, the rational order of the universe itself. That's heavy.
It carries immense weight. It's seen as a cosmic transgression, an attempt to disrupt the harmony of the whole system. It's fundamentally unnatural in the deepest sense of the word.
A violation of the general order of the world, as you said.
Precisely. And interestingly, they extended this idea of impiety beyond just direct injustice. They also argued that chasing pleasures as the ultimate good or desperately fleeing pains as the ultimate evil could also be considered impious.
How so? That seems less obvious. Most people naturally seek pleasure and avoid pain.
Right, but the Stoic reasoning is that if you make pleasure your absolute goal, or pain your ultimate enemy, you often end up blaming nature or fate when things don't go your way. You might think, it's unfair I'm suffering, or it's unfair that bad person is prospering. This, they argued, is like accusing the rational order of the universe, common nature, of distributing things unjustly, not according to the deserts of either. You're essentially judging the cosmos based on your fleeting feelings.
And this can lead to bad actions.
It absolutely can. If avoiding pain is your highest priority, you might lie, cheat, or betray someone to escape it. If maximizing pleasure is everything, you might exploit others or neglect your duties. You prioritize your sensations over reason and your connection to the whole. For the Stoics, pain and pleasure are indifference things that happen, neither inherently good nor bad in a moral sense. Reacting to them as ultimate goods or evils leads you away from virtue and the common good, hence it's impious.
So don't let feelings override your rational duty to the common good.
Okay, that's the essence of it. It's about aligning your will with the rational order, not with your immediate reactions to external events.
This whole idea of interconnectedness, cosmic order, and the impiety of acting against it, it really emphasizes our individual responsibility within the whole. Marcus Aurelius had that very striking analogy, didn't he? About the branch.
Oh, yes, it's incredibly vivid. He says, a branch cut off from its neighboring branch is necessarily cut away from the whole tree. Simple enough, right?
Yeah, makes sense visually.
Then he connects it. In the same way, a human being severed from just one other human has dropped from the whole community. He's saying our connections aren't just optional extras, they are fundamental. We are parts of a larger organism.
And the really powerful part, the sort of aha moment, is about how we get severed, right?
Exactly. He points out that it's self-inflicted. He says a man separates himself from his neighbor by his own hatred or rejection, not realizing that he has thereby severed himself from the wider society of fellow citizens.
So when you hate someone, when you reject them, you're not just hurting them, you're actually cutting yourself off from the whole human community. It's like sawing off the branch you're sitting on, in a way.
Precisely. It's a self-inflicted wound. Harming others, dividing yourself from the community, ultimately damages your own connection to the whole, your own potential for flourishing, for eudaimonia. It's a powerful argument for why cooperation and care are actually in our deepest self-interest.
Which loops back to Epictetus and his focus on our inner state, our prohairesis, our volition, our faculty of choice. He called that our essential self, didn't he?
Yes, our core identity lies in our capacity to choose, to assent to impressions rationally. And he says the perfection of this prohairesis is the human good.
Okay, but that sounds quite individualistic again, perfecting my volition. How does that square with the very social common good we've been talking about?
It seems like a paradox at first, but for Epictetus they are two sides of the same coin. The perfection of your individual volition is achieved through fulfilling your nature. And what is our nature?
Rational and sociable.
Exactly. So perfecting your prohairesis means using your God-given resources, your reason, correctly. That involves understanding the world, study and interpret God and his works, seeing the big picture, taking a synoptic view of divine providence, and judging your impressions accurately, attending to our mental impressions. But crucially, this rational activity inherently includes how you interact with others. Choosing to act justly, cooperatively, kindly, that is perfecting your volition because it aligns with your rational, sociable nature, they're inseparable.
So a perfectly rational choice, in the Stoic sense, would naturally be a socially beneficial one.
In essence, yes, because reason recognizes our interconnectedness and dictates cooperation as the natural, logical way for parts of a whole to function.
This makes me think about fulfilling our roles, not just being human, but be a good parent or a sibling or citizen. Epictetus had a term for this, right?
He did normative identifications. It's a powerful idea. He argues, to be a real son, one must be filial. To be a real brother, one must be fraternal. The blood relationship by itself is insufficient to identify one in these ways.
So just having the label brother isn't enough. You have to act like a brother. Your identity is tied to your conduct within that role.
Precisely. Your identity is active, not passive. It's defined by whether you fulfill the duties and virtues associated with that role. Being a citizen was a key one for Marcus Aurelius. He constantly reminded himself of his duties as a Roman, as a leader, as part of the community. Fulfilling these roles well contributes to the common good and is part of living virtuously.
Can you give us a practical example? Musonius Rufus was known for being quite down to earth.
Yes, Musonius gives a great example regarding a son's duty to his father. He says it's not just about blind obedience. A good son, especially one studying philosophy, should show its value through his actions being self-disciplined and courteous. More than that, he should be most eager to help his father in every way. He even says the son should be willing to gladly forsake all pleasures for his father, and for him will shoulder hardships.
Wow, that's serious commitment.
It shows that social duty wasn't seen as a burden or a chore, but as an active, virtuous engagement. It builds character, strengthens the community, and benefits everyone. It's about embodying the role with integrity.
Okay, so tying this all together, fulfilling our nature, perfecting our volition, living our roles virtuously for the common good. Epictetus's famous metaphor about life being a play seems relevant here.
It's perhaps one of his most enduring images. He tells us to think of life as if you were an actor in a play. Crucially, you haven't chosen your role, you don't get to decide what happens, and you have no control over how long it will last.
Right, so much is outside our control. The script, the casting.
Exactly. So rather than railing against fate or the director or the other actors, your task is to play the role you find yourself in as best as you can.
And connecting that back to the common good. Playing your role well means doing what that role requires for the benefit of the whole production, right? Whether you're playing a king or a servant in this cosmic drama.
Precisely. It's about excellence in your specific function, whatever it is, contributing to the overall harmony and purpose of the play, which is society, the human community, the cosmos. Your part matters to the whole.
It's actually quite liberating, in a way, if you're stuck in traffic or dealing with a difficult situation at work.
You can reframe it. Okay, this is the scene I'm in right now. My role here is maybe patient driver or professional colleague. How do I play this part with virtue, with excellence, contributing positively rather than just reacting? It shifts the focus back to what you can control, your response, your actions, your contribution.
Even if the contribution is just maintaining your composure and not making things worse for everyone else.
Exactly. That itself can be a service to the common good in that moment.
So we have this deep philosophical grounding for the common good, but translating it into daily life. That's the challenge. How do we actually do this stuff? Marcus Aurelius had advice on managing thoughts, you mentioned.
He did. Very practical advice. He says to examine the series and connection of thy thoughts. Be careful to weed out anything idle and impertinent, and especially anything curious and malicious. Gossip, pointless speculation, ill will get rid of it.
And replace it with.
Think only of such things, of which if a man upon a sudden should ask thee, what it is that thou art now thinking, thou mayest answer this and that freely and boldly. The goal is that your thoughts themselves would reveal you to be sincere and peaceable, as becometh one that is made for society.
That's quite a standard, to have your inner monologue ready for public inspection and find it peaceful and socially constructive.
It's definitely an aspirational goal. It highlights the importance of inner work, of mental hygiene, ensuring your internal state supports social harmony, not undermines it.
Okay, but what about dealing with other people's difficulties? If we're all interconnected, how does a Stoic, often seen as detached, engage with suffering? Do they just tell people to buck up because it's indifferent?
Not quite. That's another common caricature. Epictetus actually advises showing sympathy. He says you can offer words of comfort, even sharing in another's groans, outwardly.
Outwardly. So there's a distinction.
Yes, a crucial one. He says do this, provided that you do not groan within oneself. You make an outward acknowledgement of the distraught person's distress. You empathize, you put yourself in their shoes, but internally.
Internally, you maintain perspective.
Right. You maintain an inward refusal to be carried away by the impression that the other situation is objectively bad. You remember the core Stoic principle. It is not what has happened that is crushing this person, but the person's judgment about what has happened.
So you offer genuine compassion and support, but you don't get emotionally swamped yourself. Because getting swamped doesn't actually help them, does it? It might even make things worse.
Exactly. The aim is reasoned empathy that allows you to remain a stable, helpful presence, rather than just mirroring their distress, which can be counterproductive. Adam Smith actually observed something similar, how we naturally feel deep sympathy for major tragedies, but can be indifferent or even annoyed by trivial complaints. The Stoic aims for a more consistent, reasoned, helpful response across the board.
And this considered approach, this acting for the common good, even when it's difficult, does it benefit the person doing it beyond just, being nice?
Oh, absolutely. Epictetus is very clear on this. He says, the person who acts fraternally, who acts with consideration for others, has the better of it in the domain of his volition. Meaning the moral and emotional benefits to yourself from being considerate, patient, helpful, these vastly outweigh any material thing you might give up or inconvenience you might suffer. Every time you choose the virtuous, socially oriented action, you are strengthening your own character, your own prohairesis, your inner citadel.
So it's an investment in your own core self.
Definitely. It provides a powerful internal motivation. Acting for the common good isn't just altruism, it's enlightened self-interest in the deepest sense because it perfects your own nature.
Okay, but realistically, communities are full of flawed people. We all are. People make mistakes, act badly. How did the Stoics suggest dealing with that without just getting cynical or angry?
They were very realistic about this. Marcus Aurelius stated bluntly that expecting a world without flawed people is madness. It is impossible. So acceptance is the first step.
Don't expect perfection from others.
Right. And when correction is needed, do it gently. Marcus advises doing so tenderly without any hollowness of words, and privately if possible. Avoid scoffing or harsh blame, exprobation. The goal should be to guide or help, not to shame or punish publicly.
Which requires a lot of inner strength, surely, not just reacting instinctively with anger.
Immense strength. And Marcus connects this directly to power. He says, the nearer everything is unto unpassionateness, the nearer it is unto power. Anger, like grief, he argues, comes from a feeling of weakness, of being wounded and yielding to emotion.
So true strength lies in calmness, in rational compassion.
Yes. Staying calm and clear-headed, even when faced with foolishness or injustice, allows you to respond constructively for the actual good of the situation, rather than just adding your own reactivity to the mix. It's an internal victory that benefits the whole.
What a powerful framework. We've really covered a lot of ground here, diving into the Stoic idea of the common good.
We have, from its centrality for Marcus Aurelius to its roots in our social nature and cosmic order, right through to practical application.
It's clear it's not just a peripheral idea, but absolutely core to Stoicism. It's about seeing our individual purpose as inseparable from the well-being of the whole, acting justly, fulfilling our roles, and doing so with this kind of reasoned empathy.
And hopefully this deep dive gives you, our listener, a shortcut to understanding this complex but rewarding concept. It really does offer some surprising perspectives on how deeply our own flourishing, our eudaimonia, is linked to the health of our communities.
It definitely moves Stoicism beyond just being about personal resilience, doesn't it? It makes it about active, conscious contribution.
A contribution seen not as a sacrifice, but as fundamental to perfecting our own nature.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to take away. If the Stoics are right, if our deepest well-being is actually a byproduct of living virtuously and serving this common good, what's one small act of social utility, as Marcus might put it, that you could focus on in your daily life?
Maybe think about one specific role you inhabit Epictetus's normative identification. Are you a colleague, a parent, a neighbor, a citizen? How could you lean into fulfilling the duties of that role just a little bit better?
Not for praise, not for external reward, but for that internal alignment, that sense of participating constructively in the larger whole, perfecting your own rational social nature. Maybe just start with one small thing, but do it with that intention. Something to think about.